Well, man, welcome back, everybody. I know it's been a while since I recorded a video. I kind of took a break from playing 40k and 9th edition for a little while. Stopped playing my Genestealer cult. The edition was just getting a little stale for me, so I was just playing some other games for a while, taking a little reset. But I did play in a major like last weekend, and I actually took my Necrons to that just because I know I wasn't going to be able to finish games playing 150 Neophytes. So I just had fun, took some Novak Necrons. And now I'm back to making some content for the GSC because I got the 10th edition preview out by GW today. I wanted to go over it, make a video, and kind of see what they're going to change for GSC and 10th edition. And I'm sure a bunch of you have already looked at this. Maybe there's some things you missed in here. We're going to go over it in detail, kind of talk about what it means for GSC and 10th edition, how they might play, because obviously we don't have all the information. But this does give us a pretty good hint at how it's going to go, I think, for the faction. Unlike some of the faction focus, like the Necron ones, was very like character focused. Like if you add the characters to these units, they'll get these buffs, but I need to see all those characters before I know what they're going to do, right? But I think this GSC focus, you can kind of tell how the faction is going to go. So let's jump in and get started and take a look at what GW is nice enough to show us today. And before we jump too far into the GSC preview, I just want to let everybody know that I am affiliated with Frontline Gaming. And if you're looking for any GSC or 40k product, really, you can use the link below in the description, and you'll go over and get 15% off MSRP for any GW products. And I just get a small kickback if you use that affiliate link down in the description. As you can see, they got plenty of stuff in stock for GSC. If you need one of these amazing characters and stuff like that, throw it in your cart. If you use my link, I'll get a kickback to the channel. It's a really great way to support the channel, and I absolutely appreciate it. And if you do $100, it's free shipping. First, we have a beautiful overview of all the nice little models that GW paints, obviously. We skip all this. This is useless. And we're going to go right into the army rule, Cult Ambush. And I absolutely love this rule. It's a really innovative way to give GSC some durability on the battlefield in a really unique way. So when I was looking at all the other previews, I was kind of worried when I saw, especially some of the vehicles, like damage, number of shots, and some of the like Oath of Moment rerolls, and some of the other, damage buffs basically that a lot of units got. And I was the whole time wondering, like, oh man, GSC, like how they're so fragile already right now. Like, how are they going to survive in this 10th edition wildness? Because I didn't think they were going to get the defensive buffs that I'm seeing of a lot of stuff. Like our trucks and stuff probably aren't going to be as tough as like a Land Raider, for example. So this Cult Ambush rule is how we're going to adapt and deal with that, I think. So every time a Genestealer cult unit is destroyed, you roll a d6, adding 3 to it if it's battle line. And on a 4+, so that means every time when it's a battle line unit, which are Nephite Hybrids and Acolytes, they tell us that later in the article, you put a blip marker. What we're typically known for the GSC are deploying those blip markers instead of units. Now it looks like we're using those put down Cult Ambush tokens on the battlefield anywhere not more than 9 inches away from enemy units. And then in your opponent's next reinforcement step, any of those Cult Ambush markers that are still there, you get to bring in a unit back that was destroyed, and then you rolled that 4+4. So all of your battle line units and like Aberrants, you'd have to roll that 4 up, and they go in what's called Cult Ambush. So this is really interesting because it lets you bring, obviously, units back to the table that you paid for once in army building, and it looks like you don't pay for it again. They just come back on the table for free or on a dice roll in some cases. But there is some, your opponent has some agency over it, where if they get one of their units within 9 inches of a Cult Ambush marker, it's removed from the battlefield. and they don't have a ton of play where they can come within 9, because during their turn, when they're killing your units, it's going to be their shooting or fight phases. So they're not going to move past there, and then you place the markers anywhere you want on the table outside of 9 of enemy units, and then you get a turn. Then your opponent's command phase comes in at the end of their movement phase, basically. So they'll have one chance to move to get within range 9 of those markers to take them away before you're going to be able to put the units back on the battlefield. But then remember, they're also going to have a chance to shoot and charge again into where those units that you put up. So this isn't going to let you just like throw units in the middle of the table close to your opponent's line or right on their home objective and have no recourse or no way for your opponent to deal with it. It's just going to let you, like, your home objectives are going to be super safe from a shooting army that's going to shoot you from across the table. You just put a blip there. Now it's not coming back in your next command phase, so you're going to have something on there for that, and we'll talk about that later when we get to the Nephite Hybrids status sheet. But it's going to make sure you get that unit back in that next command phase. So I was really, really excited about that. Obviously, characters don't come back. That's the last paragraph. If you have a Patriarch in there, he's dead when he dies. Can't regen Patriarchs forever, unfortunately. And then we get our detachment rule, which is called Ascension Day, which is awesome. And for each Genestealer caught in your unit that's set up as reinforcement, so Deep Strike, anything that's put on the table, not deployed on the table, basically, you're going to get sustained hits 1 and ignores cover. And that's both in the fight phase and shooting. For sustained hits, obviously, you're going to get that in the fight phase. Ignores cover, you're not going to ignore cover in the fight phase. But that's really awesome. It buffs the amount of shooting and close combat damage you can do pretty substantially. And you're going to be able to pair this with some characters we'll talk about later to even give more buffs to the unit, so they're even doing more damage. Next, we get Brew Brothers still, which is awesome. Up to 500 points of your 2,000 point army list can be Astra Militarum units, just not the units that are listed down below there, which you can take a look at. Obviously, it can't be your Warlord and no Astra Militarum enhancements, but you can take, like, just the way that list building is done now, you don't have to worry about spending CP to get extra detachments. You don't have to worry about, finagling guard troops in your list because you have to take 3 troop choices or 2 or 1 for a patrol. You can just take 3 Lemon Russes if you want and throw them right in your Genestealer cult list. And that's awesome. And I think it's even going to be better this edition because a lot of the things that buffed units that were stratagems are now just on their data sheet. So whatever data sheet rules like the Lemon Russ has or like any other guard unit that you want to take, you just get that now from throwing it in your army, which is awesome. So we kind of just got opened up a whole new codex that we can use way easier than 9th edition. Now we're on to some real interesting stuff in the unit spotlights, where we're going to talk about the Nephite Hybrids first. And their stat line, leadership 7+, objective control 2, 1 wound, 5 up save. I mean, we kind of probably expected all of that. But the interesting things they get, their core ability, they get Deep Strike, which I think probably all of GSC is going to have. And then their special abilities is a plan Generations in the Making. So at the start of your command phase, you're going to roll a d6 for every objective marker that Nephite Hybrid unit is on. Control, not on, that you control. And on a 4+, you get a CP. So we know from the core rules leaks that you can only gain 1 CP outside of the CP gained in the command phase for each player total for that turn. So you're only going to be able to get one of these. Say if you're on 3 objectives and you roll 3 4-ups, you're still going to only get that 1 CP. But it looks like we start the game with no CP and you're only gaining the 2 per battle round in each player's command phase. And so gaining CP in any other way is going to be huge. And I think a lot of armies are going to have it built in so you'll have enough CP to spend on all the cool new rulebook strats. Their war gear abilities, they have the cult icon built directly into their data sheet now, where they get 3 models back in the reinforcement steps of your movement phase. It kind of sucks it got moved to the reinforcement steps of your movement phase and not your command phase, because that means you can't do any healing back onto objective shenanigans and scoring it at the end of the command phase with this now. But at least you can put more objective control on an immune or something like that, so that next your opponent's turn you can take some more stuff away. Because if they're on an objective, they get D3 +3 back, so it's up to 6 models back, which is awesome. I'm really interested to see how many points this unit costs. I'm assuming you can take it in 10 to 20, because before they were like 60 points, but you had to pay for the occult icon. You didn't have a planned generations in the making. So it'll be interesting to see like how many points you can just throw into this unit, and if it's really worth it. But maybe the high point Nephite Hybrid units are worth it because they're just going to come back onto the table through called Ambush. So we have the ranged weapon as well changed. I'll talk about the mining laser and seismic cannon first, because that's kind of what everybody's going to throw in their units, kind of like we were doing in 9th edition. Both of them are heavy, which is good because they hit on 5 pluses. So if you do manage to stand still, you hit on 4s. But just remember, every time you deep strike or come on the table from reserves, you count as moving. So you're hitting on that 5 plus, which kind of sucks. But hopefully there's a way to buff it through characters or some other way throughout the codex or the data sheets. The mining laser goes all the way up to strength 12, AP 3, which is high AP we know in this edition, as a lot of stuff is going down. And D6 plus 1 damage. I don't know why GW is moving away from the D3 plus 3. Like, I felt that was real good because the variance is less. Yeah, the ceiling is higher for this, but like, you just roll that 1 and you just get 2 damage, and it kind of feels bad. Kind of same thing for the seismic cannon. While it gets a lot of shots with rapid fire 2 and 4 shots base at 24 inches, strength 6, AP 1, D3 damage. Again, getting that 1 damage on this gun is going to feel real bad. And strength 6 is going to be wounding a ton of stuff out there on 5s now, which is rough, but there is ways to get lethal hits and buff it up, hopefully, which again we'll talk about later when we look at some of the characters. Kind of hidden in here is talking about the Goliath truck, which has the firing deck 12 ability. So I'm guessing the Goliath truck is going to be able to hold 12 dudes. It'll be interesting to see like how many heavy weapons, special weapons the Nephite Hybrids can take if it's the same as it was before. You can just load it in the trucks and they can just blast out of it and be a little safer, basically. So then you're going to have to kill the truck, kill the hybrids, and the hybrids are coming back from called ambush. I love it. Oh, I actually did forget to talk about a weapon up here in the Weber. Like, it's devastating wounds, auto hitting, D6 attacks, 12 inches, but only strength 2. But I think that the Weber might be the go-to special weapon, even though the grenade launcher got a little buff. And I just noticed this, looking at this right now, there's a leader pistol. It's a separate pistol with strength 4 instead of strength 3 from your auto pistol. I love it. That leader just gets that little extra strength. I wonder if I'll ever even remember that in a game. So next we're going to take a look at the Patriarch. This guy's going to be in a lot of lists, I feel like. I love running the Patriarch. I know some GSC players stopped using him in 9th just because he wasn't that great for his points cost, and there were just better ways to spend it. But it's really interesting what GW did with him now. You can see he has got no psychic attacks, but he does have psychic abilities, which we'll go over in a second. His stat line, movement 8, toughness 5, 4 up, 6 wounds, just objective control 1, which doesn't add a ton to the unit. So it's nothing special up there really for a character. But his Patriarch claws with devastating wounds and twin links, so he rerolls the wounds, 5 attacks hitting on 2s. That's going to shred some stuff. That's really awesome. So just him by himself, I mean, that's not that exciting. He does have a 4 up invulnerable save. But if you look in his core rules, he gets infiltrators, which I'm assuming that Genestealers get in our book as well, because it says you can put him with a unit of pure stain Genestealers and he gives them devastating wounds. That's from Might from Beyond ability. So if they also have 4 attacks like the Tyrannid ones, they can maybe sneak in a ruin somewhere in the middle of the table, deploy there, move their 8 inches, charge something, get those devastating wounds through. That's going to be really, really awesome. 40 attacks with devastating wounds. I'm actually just noticing too, it looks like there's nowhere in here that like a lot of stuff just can't advance and charge. I don't know if, let me know in the comments if you guys have seen anything in the other faction focuses that can advance and charge. I don't think I've seen it yet, and it's definitely not here, and you would think it would be in the Patriarch and the Genestealers that we saw in the Tyrannid ones, which I know didn't have it. So I mentioned he doesn't have any psychic attacks, but he has a really cool psychic ability in Cosmic Horror. At the start of the fight phase, any unit within 6 of him has to take a battle shock test. This is awesome because you can't, if you fail it, you can't use stratagem on that. Your opponent can't fight first with them. They can't fight on death if they're Space Marines. And then with his little familiar buddy, who's now just a token on the battlefield with him, he gets to use this ability once per game. He can use it and do it at 12 inches instead of 6 inches, which is awesome. That could be a good chunk of your opponent's army. Let's see. So it says he can go in the pure strain Genestealers and grant them devastating wounds, which I think is going to be really cool. And then we're going to look at some of the weapon spotlights. First, we have the demo charges. And I like what they did here again. The one use ability is kind of sad because his big strength 12 AP2 damage 2 can only be used once per battle in range of 6 inches. So I really think this guy is just going to hide behind a ruin and use his remote explosives to do 24-inch range indirect fire into like guard infantry and stuff like that, which is a pretty decent profile to kill like things like that on the table. But the 6 inches, like, I guess you could use the strat we're going to look at later to put him within 3 and then use it, but that's more like cute than anything else. Next, we have this poor Abominant. This guy's been getting the shaft for like 2 editions. He has 3 attacks. Can we give the guy some more attacks? Like, he's even got a little buddy there with him. It's a ton of damage. It's a high strength. It's like a little mining laser with less AP. But with 3 attacks with weapon skill 3, he better have a real good data sheet, like abilities that buff Aberrants, for me to put him in my list. And I really hope he does. I think his model is sick. And I really like Abern, so I'm hoping they're good again. Here's praying. Alright, now we're moving on to some stratagems. And they showed us a couple of really cool ones. It even says Crossfire is gone, which I kind of assume after I read the stratagem, this is going to kind of replace Crossfire. And at 2 CP, that's pretty steep. But like we saw with the Nephite Hybrids, they can get you that extra CP, hopefully with some good 4-up rolls, right? So in your shooting or fight phase, you pick 2 of your units and 1 of your opponent's units, and those 2 units of yours have to attack that enemy unit. And when you do, you get +1 to the wound roll. That's really strong, I think. It's a lot of CP, but if you have like people coming down from ambush and you're shooting at them, getting +1 with all the different shots, because all those strength 3 guns now. RIP shotguns, I forgot to mention, that sucks. I really like the 12-inch, getting a little extra strength, coming up closer, but we just have auto guns now, basically. So our auto guns wounding things on 5, now wounding on 4s is good. Even wounding those vehicles a little better with our mining lasers and our like seismic cannons will help out a lot. This isn't a stratagem you're going to be able to use every turn, because you're going to want to use some of the cooler stratagems like Overwatch. And if you're just getting 2 a turn or maybe 3 a turn with the you being on objectives, this is pretty steep. And then tunnel crawlers, I'm so glad it's 1 CP. So this is why you're not going to be able to use that 2 CP stratagem every turn. You're going to want to do this. 1 Genestealer cult unit comes in from Deep Strike, and it can come in 3 inches away. I'm so glad we kept this. Can't charge obviously after, but you can come in if your opponent doesn't screen the objectives very well. If you just want to come in with a big 20-man block of neophytes, assuming we can take them in 20s, come in and blast stuff. This just adds so much tactical depth to playing Genestealer cults. I'm really glad this is still in the book. So we'll see, what other ways we can manipulate our deep strike, but it looks like, the popping up 8 inches away or popping up 6 inches away and not charging is gone. That's not mentioned anywhere, and a lot of the stuff even specifically calls out, like with the tokens, you got to be 9 inches away. So I'm assuming we can't get closer, but at least we have this still to come in and shoot or come in and steal some objectives. Or to come in and do the gambit, where you got to be in the corners of the table and roll that thing and get 30 points. I'm going to win a game picking that gambit, using this to get in a corner of a table. I feel it in my heart. So last, they have the word from the studio, where they just kind of talked about some fluff about how they wanted the GSC to play, and they wanted to murder Admech, obviously, based off this picture. But in the bottom here, they talk about the characters are going to add a lot of flavor to the unit based on what character you pick, which is awesome. That feels very GSC-like. And it says the Locust is going to give the Fights First ability to any unit he joins, which Fights First in 10th edition is super, super strong because of the way the fight phase has changed. Now the players whose turn it is not picks the first eligible unit. So all the Chargers get Fights First, But if your Locust already is giving like a unit of Aberrants, hopefully you can go in fights first. Even if your opponent charged you, you get to pick the first eligible as the player whose turn it is not. You say, nope, you charge my Aberrants, they're going to smash you with their hammers before you get to do anything. And then your opponents can go with his chargers. So we'll see what units he can go in, but I mean, I'm hoping it's not just Nephite Hybrids. But if he can go in Acolytes, that'll be really good. So it'll force your opponent to shoot them off the table instead of charging them. And then the Biophagus gives the lethal hits weapon ability to a unit that he's in. And I wonder if that's in shooting also, or is it going to say just in close combat, just kind of the way his fluff is. If it's shooting, that is just going to add so much damage to a big squad of Nephite Hybrids. Getting those 6s to auto hit, because you're going to be rolling so many dice. You can put him within 3 inches away with the Biophagus and just, here come the 6s, baby, and then all those go through his wounds. It's going to be great. It's not going to be very much AP, but maybe it's something on a 3-up save, you do a lot of wounds. That's kind of it. It goes with the Black Library books. Day of Ascension, I will say, it's real good. I listened to an audiobook. If you guys are looking for a GSC book out there that you want to listen to get yourself pumped up for 10th edition, it's really good, worth the time for sure. And I think it mentions tomorrow is going to be Imperial Agents, which nobody cares about that. I guess we'll see how Assassins are. That could be cool. Overall, my thoughts, I'm really, really excited. It looks like this faction focus kind of keyed in on the right things for me, because I was worried about durability, which in Cult Ambush we kind of get some answers to. I was worried that GSC might lose a little bit of their flavor with the paring down of the rules and the stratagems, but we can see that we still have all of the cool flavor with the Came From Below. We can still take Brew Brothers, and with the strat coming in 3 inches away. I'm excited now to play GSC. I'm excited to see all the data cards. I just want to see what the points are and start making lists. I can't wait. So thanks everybody for listening, and I'll be putting out some more regular content here now that 10th edition is ramping up. I'm getting more excited about playing my GSC. My next video will probably be the Tyranids faction focus as we wait for the full rules to start coming out, because I will start playing more of my Tyranids as well and featuring them on the channel. So if you want anything specific, feel free to let me know in the comments, and I would really appreciate it if you could throw me a like and a subscribe as well if you like the GSC content. And good luck in your games of 10th out there. I'll see you guys next time.